Hello Scorchers, this will be part 1 in a video series of instructing you how to use your hammer and shovel. In this episode we'll be covering all things trenching, offensive and defensive. First we're starting off with an example of a bad trench design. This is a culmination of a few things I see in public lobbies a lot. First we'll be starting off by going through this trench, and at first it may seem that this trench is pretty solid. It's got pretty big communication trenches. It's got a good strong front trench to the front for your team to peek up and get shot. Now we're going to take this back and go from a bird's eye view to really show what's going on with this trench. Getting a look at it a little higher up from the side should already show you that there are glaring flaws when it comes to the design of this defense on the Axis side. First thing that you should note is that these trenches are super long and they don't wind at all. This means that if any trench raiders come from the right or the left side, the entire trench will be locked down. Now we're going to take a little bit higher. You should notice that while these communication trenches do go far back enough to reach the D-point spawn, they're entirely straight, meaning that any sniper with a head on their shoulders down by maybe probably there, be standing at a pillbox all the way down there, could snipe all the way down this trench. Another thing to note is that this kind of backline, the secondary trench inside this whole structure, actually curves inwards to the point from the enemy's side. This means that if your teammate tries to go down this trench to clear the center of the point to take the point back, they'll have to likely peek this and be met with a DP-27 blazing a shower of lead in their face. If you notice over here, this area of the trench is actually quite open. Now, you may be thinking, well, that just gives space for my team. Wrong. When you leave it open like this, the point is for it to be CQC. If you leave it open like this, from that lantern and sandbag down there, you're able to see the top of the head of the guy standing all the way back here. I place that about Scorcher height level. You stop seeing this, dummy, when you're probably about right here. Around there, you stop seeing him. But this guy in the back, you can see him until you're all the way back there. There are many things to take into account when building a trench, so I'm going to show you the right way. Something I did forget to mention is that another mistake that is commonly found within public matches is that the communication trench, the trench leading up to the actual front line, there's only one. A good design such as this will have two. The reason you have two is so that if the enemy were to take your point up ahead of you, they then have to split their attention to two trenches. You have the advantage on the counterattack, so you don't want to make your team go down just one. Now, to entertain all the public players, there is actual use for, believe it or not, tunnels inside of a good trench design. Mainly the reason why you would want to use tunnels is to have a kind of a hidden path leading up to a defensive position within the center of your whole design. What I have here is rudimentary. It's a small little foxhole with two tunnels leading to either side of the whole defense. As we move up, you will notice that these trenches are actually zigzagged. Why, you may ask? It's obvious. If the enemy were to take this trench, they cannot see down the whole thing. I mean, yeah, you kind of can if it's built poorly, but going down it, you cannot see down it as you're going down. You have to bob and weave, go side to side throughout the whole thing. Now, you know your trench better than the enemy, so you know they're a little ways away. Pop in and out, pop them in the head. Following what was discussed before, I'm going to pop down into the front trench of this defense here, and huge thing to note is that the only way I'm going to be able to look down the whole line is if I skyline myself and show myself to the whole enemy team. along with a huge improvement to the secondary trench line design, is that it no longer curves inward to your defense, so that if the enemy were to situate themselves right there, you could simply march on down your defense, down your line, take a lean, and you have full view right here. Adverse to if the enemy were to come down here and want to clear the center of the point, they would have to deal with the right, then they would have to deal with the left, no longer being able to stare directly down it along with your own line. You may call me a huge hypocrite for leaving a huge space out in the open here, but something to note is that you want to put your secondary line at the back of your point. You don't want to be putting below ground access to your point super close to the front. Now, I made that mistake here. I put this line a little bit too close. You want to leave a sizable gap between your front line and the front of your point, so that the enemy cannot so easily just dig into it quickly or get into your point and be able to cap it from the front of your line, making it meaningless to actually push further into your own defense. You shoot yourself in the foot there. You may be thinking that this type of design, this type of philosophy to use, will take up way too much time to realistically be used inside of a public match. Well, I say that's wrong. I was pretty much able to finish about a quarter of this whole thing in about a little bit under the regular build time in a public match. Now, we're going to take it from a bird's eye view and understand the philosophy of this. The idea of this way of digging trenches is to be useful to your team, but hard for the enemy. Everything is angled in such a way that is easy for your team to access, but hard for the enemy to get to. They want to get to that spot, they have to go down this whole line, cut a right, get shot from the ass, go right in the center, or go on open ground. Say, well, they can dig, digging takes time. And that, in a sense, if they try and dig to that point there, your design succeeded, because you are slowing them down. And here, from a bird's eye view, we have an example of how this trench design can be fortified. Let's take from back to front. We have a pillbox all the way in the back that is overlooking pretty much down the center and the left and the right. We have toe brooks along the communication trenches that your team is able to sneak into, peek up, and shoot down at the enemy coming down the line, if they were to ever get in. We have a strong, very strong, this specific design of trench I have here, so effective in games that people don't even try and raid it. They just go off to somewhere else that's weaker. Staggered barbed wire. You don't actually need to build a one solid barbed wire line. Staggering it just does the job just as good. And now you'll notice how I left the left and the right front ends kind of unfortified. This is so that your teammates here, since the enemy is likely not going to try and hit the front, they're trying to get to the side. Pretty much every single one of these defenses can look at either side, except for the front two. That one can really only look over that area, that one this area, but pretty much it can all look to either side and pick off the enemy as they walk in. Now we're going to transition over to offensive digging. To wrap up this video, we have an example of an offensive trench. Now, offensive digging, as an engineer, essentially means you are keeping up with your team by giving them communication trenches to where they want to go. This trench right here follows a similar design where you are digging in a zigzag pattern. You're not just digging straight, because if you're a random engineer and you just dug straight towards C from this point, any Joe Schmo with an MG42 can just sit at the other end and mow your team down every day of the week. This follows the regular design, being a communication trench on the side of the point and a zigzag pattern towards the enemy. As you are digging these communication trenches, you want to give your team cover and opportunities to use it. You don't just want to dig the zigzag and then expect your team to go down it. You kind of have to, treat them like elementary schoolers. You got to give them incentives. You got to put pretty little sandbags here if you go up like, I can go here, and convince them to shoot at the enemy. Now, once you reach this point at the end of your offensive trench, it's pretty easy for the other team to just kind of peek over and shoot you. So as an engineer, and if you're communicating with a team, you want them to run smokes. Trenches like these should almost always be dug under smoke and suppressive fire in the direction that you are digging. This will allow you to, once you reach the point that you want to go to, say on this side of the line that we have constructed over here, this will allow you to get close and fire off a little accurate mortar right into the center of the enemy's defenses. Now we're going to go to a bird's eye view and see how this holds up. Oh. As we can see, that with effective digging and good usage of fortifications, this design has held up.